Okay, I'm going to call the September 18th school board meeting to order. If everyone can join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, but if it's hot, I'll turn that on. Thank you. Kind of a short agenda tonight, and we're a little light on people. Patty is joining us from Google. Hi, Patty. And Nate is not going to be here tonight. So we are a lean team. I don't think we need to vote to have Patty here because she's not a voting member, but she's attending remotely. Before we move on to item number 3, I did just want to briefly add another item. Sorry, Kathy, I'm adding an item to the agenda. Okay. And that's the recount of the school board special election results from last Tuesday. So we received 2 requests for a recount, and we will be doing that recount on Sunday, September 22nd at 3 p.m. at the George B. White building, if anyone would like to attend. A quorum of the school board will be there, the moderator, the school board clerk, and then ballot counters. So I don't anticipate it will last more than an hour or 2, but any and all public, I believe, are welcome. Okay, joint tax impact letter with Board of Selectmen. So this got slightly more complicated than we discussed at the last meeting. So I reached out to Fred to discuss drafting the letter. And then I heard back from the interim town administrator who shared some figures with us, what they're sort of basing their estimates on. I shared those with the SAU. Our business administrator would like to set up a call with the interim town administrator to make sure that our numbers are in sync because they weren't sort of lining up. So, obviously we want to send out the letter, but I think it behooves us to send out a letter that is factually accurate. So there is not a draft that I'm aware of or that has been circulated to me for comment yet. I didn't watch the Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday, so I don't know if they discussed it there.
And Fred is out of town.
And Fred's out of town.
Yep.
So I don't know when it's coming out. My comment to the interim town administrator was that I think it's tempting to try to estimate ourselves what the actual tax impact would be, and I would caution against saying definitively what we think it'll be, because neither of us are responsible for actually setting the tax rate. I think we could give an estimate, or we could talk about what in our budget increased and what our estimated tax increase was on the warrant, and explain how to calculate your proposed tax increase. But I would caution getting too specific about what a number would be, because there's a lot of factors that are beyond my pay grade in terms of it getting set by the DRA. I will also just note that there were several things that were overstated in a Board of Selectmen meeting that I just wanted to correct. Because again, I don't know if the Board of Selectmen already corrected these, but I think there was a statement by the Board of Selectmen that the average assessment in town is $750,000, which is not accurate. The average assessment for a house in town is $357,615, and that's the number used for taxation.
Can you say the number again?
Yep, $357,615. There was also a comment that the December tax rate is functionally doubled in December, which is not accurate. So those are sort of some things that we're working through in terms of how this information is going to get presented to the town via letter. But we're working on it, but I don't have anything for you to review tonight.
We did not correct. I watched the meeting and I did not hear a correction on those.
Fair. I don't know that the average assessment will be included or is relevant to anyone, but there was a statement that it was $750, so that people's tax increase would be approximately X, which is just factually not true. Okay, so we will move on to the space needs presentation by the Space Needs Committee.
Okay, so that's Missy and me. So just a little background. Missy and I were both new to the board from the time when there was a committee to look at the space needs of the school, and also there was a proposal to put an expansion on the school, which was really done in 2020. So what we did is we basically kind of looked at where we are now to put a presentation together to see what's going on. And please feel free, if you have questions on the slide, just go ahead and ask, okay? Because this is more like a public kind of forum tonight. Okay, let's see. Okay, so just a little bit of the history. The building was built in 1989, 58,000 square feet for 536 students. That little asterisk means that 90% the recommended utilization. Now that was before the state actually changed the footage, so that's different now. 1998, we added this. We added this in 1999. These are classrooms that are over on the back of the school. But then in 2010, they changed square footage recommendations to 140 square feet per pupil, which meant that we have 69,515 square feet, which is about for 446 students. That's at the 90% recommended. And if we were to use the entire space, not the 90%, that would be for 496 students. Okay, and we have, well, we'll show in a second how many we have. Okay, the existing building, we have 25 classrooms, plus we have the 2 modulars that have 2 classrooms each. We have 8 specialty classrooms, library tech, which is this room here, library tech 8 is over in that corner. 2 art, 2 music, a world culture, 2 physical education. I should put a 2 in physical education. I mean, no, there's just two classes, but no gym. And a cafeteria. We have special education, intervention places, and we have in the past, we've been using closets, we've been using staircases, we've been using whatever we can find. And then admin spaces, a lot of that has been taken away. There isn't a staff conference room, and offices have been moved around. So there's less space for them as well. Okay, so what I did is I went back to the town annual reports from Deerfield because I wanted to use numbers that would be consistent. Because you can get numbers from this, snapshot, and then from this snapshot they'd be different. But the annual reports, I figured they're all, that's at least we know we're using the same thing. So the blue line up here is the students, and down here is the staff. So from 1989 up. We have a couple like big spikes. This is when we added kindergarten into our school. We added preschool here. We obviously had the pandemic there. We had a big decline in students. And as you can see, the staff grows. Now I'm going to show these each separate because it's kind of hard when you put them together. Okay, so this is the growth since 1989. 410 in 1989. Right now we have 485, but as you can see, it's gone down. We've had it up as high as 576. This green line is at 90% capacity.
I thought we just had a update to student enrollment. It was like 510.
That doesn't include preschool numbers.
Oh,
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, so the annual reports are just whatever is there, so.
Got it. Yeah. But now currently we have 510.
Yeah, 508, I think.
507.
Okay.
So yes.
None of the numbers include preschool. I mean, I know preschool didn't happen, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we showed it because you see a staff increase with preschool because that's in the numbers, the preschool staff, but not the students. Okay. So anyway, as you can see, if we're going with the recommendation from DOE, we've been above that for a while, that 90%. The staff, we started at 32. We're up to 63. That was 2023. I only went to 2023 because I didn't do this year. And there is a gap here, and that's just because it wasn't reported in the annual report. There was no school report that year. I know, it's kind of weird. So, but you can see again, increase in staff with kindergarten and with preschool. And then the other reasons for increases is, well, we increased our IAs. We went from 1 music, 1 art, 1 PE, to 2 music, 2 art, 2 PE. We also added, like I said, we had the kindergarten teachers, we had a preschool. The special education needs have increased substantially from when we first started the school. So we have a lot more special education staff. And of course, the student population did increase quite a bit, at least, you know, in those high ones. It's gone down in the last couple of years, but it was up quite a bit. So I wanted to kind of show how it changed. This is just a snapshot. This is kind of hard to see, but I'll just point things out to you. This is just to show staffing changes. So it's 93. I did every 6 years, just so you could see the difference. So if you look at classroom teachers, it hasn't changed too much. We've gone from 24, 27, 31, 28, 30, 30. So it's pretty much the same. It's stayed very close. Again, art teachers, music and PE just went from 1 to 2. We added language, which is now a world culture, because we don't have a language program anymore. We added wellness and health, so that's a teacher. And we added technology as the years went on. That became a big thing. You know, that wasn't really a big deal when the school was first built. The library, I think the reason why we've got those added is that in the beginning, I know we had a librarian, but I have a feeling that this is a media specialist. That's when it showed up as a certified staff, whereas before it wouldn't have shown up, because I know we had a librarian when I started. Right. She's here forever. OT, it's gone. It's kind of the same, 1 to 2 to 1. Now I want to mention these highlighted areas. That means that they're not full-time staff. It means that they're part-time. So for instance, wellness, he's 75%. He's not a full-time position. OT went from 1, I have 2, but it was really more like 1.5, right? Mm-hmm. We've got the nurses at the same thing. They really didn't go from 1 to 2. They went to, actually, they're both half-time, I think. So still like
one nurse is full-time and one is 1 day a week.
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted you to see that the highlighted there. Oh, and I'm sorry, I meant to get rid of that. The ESLO is a SAU position. Yeah.
Approximately when were all the positions underneath special education teachers added?
Well,
so from reading specialists down, when were those added?
They had right from the very start. I'd have to go back and look. The trouble is that in some of the annual reports, they didn't break them out. But they had, I know they had, oh, let me look. I actually have it here.
Which one was he asking about?
Now, you're talking like, say, at 1989. Like, I can't tell you the exact year, Greg, unless I go back to every single one and open them up again, because, you know, you start looking at stuff and then you think, oh, yeah, I should have done that.
I'm just curious, are some of them very recent?
No, it was really more of a, like, I'm going to show you, I'll show you the special ed case. I have a special slide for that, but most of them were not recent.
I could say,
Yeah.
can I chime in?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when preschool was added to preschool special educators, they're half-time regular and half-time special ed, they're both certified. So when the preschool program was added, that would have added to that number. So I don't remember what year you said that started, Ellen, but
Yeah, 2001, I think.
yeah, that's so between that 1999 and 2005, where there's a little bump, you can see that. Those would have been the addition to special ed preschool teachers likely.
Yeah, kindergarten was the 98, 99 year.
Well, I'm not looking at special ed, I'm looking at everything below special ed.
So reading.
You're talking, are you talking about like,
From reading specialist down.
yeah. They were all, like, right from the very start, it was like a reading teacher.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that
Yeah.
in like the early school, yeah. So they changed the name of them, like they might have been reading teacher, reading interventionist, reading specialist. So they did have at least one. They always had speech, they always had OT. I think one of the new ones would be the math specialist.
And I don't know how, I went back and forth with the accuracy of the math specialist, because I think when I started here in 2018, we did have 2 math
Yeah.
specialists. One of the positions is grant funded.
Right.
Or part of it is grant funded and the other rest of it comes from the budget. So I almost, but somewhere between 2011 and 2017, by 2017, we definitely had 1 math specialist. When I came in 2018, we had a math specialist for K-3 and a math specialist 4 to 8. Same with reading specialist, was a K-3 and 4 to 8 was added. And then the math interventionist had been a ESSER grant funded position last year. and then was rostered this year because there was a full-time position available to roster. We did not add a position. It was part of the full-time roster.
Yeah. And that's a good point, like I didn't have grant funded information to say
Sure.
which of these positions are
Sure,
grant
sure.
funded, yeah.
The only one that's still grant funded right now is the math specialist. And I want to say I don't know the percentage, I can find out for you because I do have it in the roster.
Right.
Does that answer your question, Greg?
That helps, yeah, so, I mean, we always had the reading support, but
Mhm.
the math is more recent.
I don't remember exactly, but back when we were at GB White, I mean, we always had a reading specialist, but we also had, because I was one, like, under Title I, it was Title I tutor. So I think the name has changed maybe to this, but because,
We currently do have, actually, that is an addition. I wasn't thinking tutor, Title I money. We have a K-3 math interventionist funded through Title I, and she's here 5 days a week, 5 hours a day. So it's for a total of 25 hours, and that's paid for through Title I funding.
So would that show up in the annual report?
I don't think so,
Probably
because
not.
it's totally grant funded.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
I was just trying to keep the data so I knew the data was coming from one place, and that's why we talked about it. Kristen was saying she didn't think the numbers was right, and I'm just like, well, I really kind of just want to go by the annual
Sure,
reports.
understood.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that we know that that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a dumb question. What's the difference between specialists and interventions?
It's based on your certification, basically. So math specialist is a certified teacher, the math interventionist is somebody that's been working towards, you don't have to have a certification to be a math interventionist.
And those titles did change throughout the years, so I didn't put every single title in, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay. All right, so we wanted to show you the special education aids. And then also we have teacher aids. And so this is throughout, this starts at 2000 and I think it's 7. And the reason is that if you go to the annual reports, back in 1989, they did tell you all the certified staff, but they didn't tell you the non-certified staff. So they started to do the non-certified staff later on in the annual report. So that's when I took this data. So you can see that actually the number of paraprofessionals has gone down from 43 to 26 over the years. There is a bump, and that's really because it's got to do with what the needs are for the kids every year. That determines, I know Lisa makes that determination every year. Who do we need? What do we need? I did notice that there was a difference between one-on-one aids and just like a, like a
Shared
class
para.
of shared, that the increase has been on one-on-one aids as opposed to shared. And these are all things that are in the IEPs, and it's required. This is a classroom aid, so a teacher aid, have people just there to help the teacher get things done. They've been there in the school since the beginning of time.
They work with kids too, but it comes out of the regular Fund 1 budget versus special education budget.
Okay. And that's been like, we had 2 and, up to 5, so it's not very much of an increase. And that goes up and down too, I'm sure, based on, is that a lot of it having to do with maybe also discipline issues if you're having that kind of like behavioral problems that you might know got nothing to do with that?
Not really, but we do, the library aid is included in that number, the preschool classroom aids are included in that number. And right now we have a kindergarten, an aid in kindergarten, and an aid in first grade, and we've traditionally had 4 aids in kindergarten. And last year we did 2 and 2. But this year, 2 of the positions we haven't been able to fill them, so.
So any questions about that?
One question. Do we potentially ever need teacher aides to help with our student teacher ratios? Because I know there's a certain state for those.
I'm going to get into that in a minute, like the number of teachers per students and okay. But no, I don't think so. I don't know that that's a DOE that they say you have an aide that helps you with the number of kids per teacher. I think it's teacher per students. Yeah. Okay. So we looked at we had a map and we had the dimensions of every classroom. We went through and we figured out what's the square footage and how many students can fit within a classroom according to DOE standards. So the kindergarten's a little bit different. It's only 50 square feet per pupil. Elementary, middle school is 36 feet per pupil. So the classrooms fit from 23 to 28 students, except for one of the kindergarten classes is really only good for 18, based on square footage. So of these 25 classrooms available, you can see we have 7 can fit 26, 6 can fit 25, 4 for 24. We can read it, but there's a varying amount of what they can fit for students. And there's really kind of no rhyme or reason. It's not like this area, they're all this size, and this area, they're that size. They're really kind of spotty where they fit.
Yeah, I was trying to figure this one out because I think like one of the 5th grade classrooms is a larger classroom, but most of the space is entry, like an entryway with
Yeah.
hooks over here. Like you can't
Yeah.
put desks there or
Yeah.
anything like that. But the square footage allows for a larger number of students,
Right.
even though
Right.
yeah. So I think we have 2 or 3 classrooms like that in
Yeah,
the
and
building.
I think the way it's written in the standards when I read it, it's like closet spaces included in
Uh-huh.
square footage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you can see this is what we have available. We can go back to this in a sec. So this is the class time recommendations, Kenny, you're asking about. So these are our recommendations. This is what, and we've changed the recommendations to make them a little higher than what they were before. We did that a couple months ago. Yeah. So you say kindergarten 15, 18, grade 1, 16 to 20, 16 to 20, and then when you get to middle school, it's 22. These are the New Hampshire Department of Education recommendations, 20, 20, 20, and then 25, and then the Department of Education maximum limits, 25, 25, and then 30. So if you think back to a lot of our classrooms, we've got 6 classrooms at 25. Okay, this one's smaller, that one's smaller. So, it limits what you can do. But then what we wanted to do is we wanted to show, okay, what does it mean? So what if we take our 3 classrooms that we typically have, I think we all have 3 classrooms for every grade level.
Every
has
grade
3,
level, it does.
3 classrooms, right? So if we were to take those 3 classrooms and turn them into 2 classrooms, how big would that make the classes? So 2nd grade, they have 15, 16, and 17. That would make 2 classrooms at 24 each.
And based off of 23, 24 numbers, not this
Right.
year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's based, yeah, right, that's based off of 23, 24. Are we higher now? I know I saw you posted that. But
Yeah, our kindergarten are at 18. They're at that max.
Right, the kindergarten at max this year. And I want to mention too that we have 4 kindergarten classes. We did move the kindergarten coming up, we said we put them into 3 classrooms instead of 4. That gave us a classroom. We brought the 2nd grade from the modulars back into the school, and then we put the math interventions out in the modulars. So we are utilizing an additional classroom this year. But so anyway, 24 each. So 2nd grade, if you look at 2nd grade, that's, above even the Department of Education recommendation. It is below the maximum limit, but it's awfully close. And the one thing you got to always remember is kids are coming in, going out. It's a fluid thing. 3rd grade.
Some classes, some groups of classes that are bigger. So
Yes, yeah.
because the 2nd grade last year could fit into 2 classrooms, doesn't mean the 2nd grade next year will fit into 2 classrooms.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing where you gotta move teachers around to do that, change the classrooms. 1st and 3rd grade, they were the same, so 18, 18, and 17, so 2 classrooms, that's 26 and 27. So you can see that even is above the maximum limit. 4th grade was 18, 18, and 16, that gives you 2 classrooms at 26, again, above the maximum limit. The middle school has a range, are a little bit different, 6, 7, and 8, but they're all like 18 to 19 students. So again, they would be at 26 students. So it's possible it's above the recommendation, but it's below the maximum in middle school. Yeah.
I have a question about how you calculate the square foot of each classroom. So is that just by the walls, or are you taking into account the stuff?
No, I did it just by the walls.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
just
it
did the
should be,
walls,
right?
came up with the area, and then divided it by how many square feet. it
Yeah.
can fit.
Exactly. It gives a more sense of like how much space is actually and.
And the middle school too, if you think about the middle school saying, well, we could do middle school if we go back to how many classrooms are there that can fit, that many kids. There aren't that many, so it's still limited. It might change where they are because they're not like in a block of classrooms. Okay, so what are our present space issues? Our health office is too small. Right now, we're not meeting the state standards. Our school is too big. She has 1 bed for 1 student, and She should have 2 beds and there should be privacy between them. So we're not meeting those standards. We are grandfathered, so it's not like we're gonna get smacked, but it is something that we're not meeting the standards. Primary students, they should have music and art on the first floor. They should not be going up to the second floor. And I think that's true
And
for
library.
library, right? Library too. Okay, we don't have enough classrooms. That's why we have the modulars. We still have 3 classrooms that are outside of our school. Library and tech ed usually utilizing the same space. And just, I asked you to just peek around there. I have a picture of it and it looks big from the picture, but if you peek around, you'll see how tiny that space is. And you've got middle school kids in there, and then you've also got the media specialists trying to do a class here. You've got a class going on in there. And I know when I was a teacher here, we used the library a lot. You can't even use the library anymore. We used to, you know, if you had a student that you needed to work with a little bit one-on-one, you bring them into the library. We've lost that whole capability. And that's, again, the lack of space for special education needs. We've had to clean a lot of the, you know, we've lost a lot of the closet space. We don't have areas that we used to have anymore because fire code things, we've had to change stuff. So we have lost a lot of that space, and that's really, you know, necessary to be able to work with students for the best ability. We have no staff space. I'll show you that in a minute. There's no staff place where staff can go to work, or they can go to have lunch, or they can meet with other staff. We got rid of all of that, and we have storage problems. So this is a map. We have the study that we had done. Jackie, do you know what year that was? Was it 2019? Because I was kind of looking for it and then couldn't find it.
So, in 2021, the Valley Bronzinger Architects was hired with a team of consultants, PhD civil engineers, fully remote reports.
Okay, so 2021 is when they did this stuff.
Yeah, so
okay.
the vote was in 2020.
Okay, all right. So what these are the things that they came up with. They said the cafeteria is undersized based on the New Hampshire Department of Education standards. The stage, I have a picture of the stage later so you can see. It's limited because one, you have the gym that's always in use, so like music can't use the stage when gym is being used, and then it's so full of stuff that it's kind of hard to use. I used to do plays here, and I know it was like a major thing to clean the stage off so we could use it for plays. Use of corridors for breakout spaces, printers, copiers, etc., impedes circulation. I think you've done an awful lot to clean that up based on that one, but okay. The kindergarten room's undersized, and this is the one that's 18. So right now it's okay, but if we were to go higher, it's undersized. Physical occupational therapy space and special education spaces are undersized for required services, and they don't meet the visual, privacy, and acoustic guidelines. And I'll show you a classroom of that in a second. This classroom undersized based on the standards, but we are using that right now for world culture, which is okay because kids only come in for a short amount of time. I think it's sized for like 18 students. Maybe
And that's
even
about
less.
the size of the class that we put the classes in there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a more than core class.
right. And then again, the nurse and health, we mentioned that already. This is the second floor. 6th and 7th grade science rooms are undersized based on the standards. And I know that they don't have any kind of, like they don't have water, they don't have the things that you normally have for a science classroom. Middle school corridors are too narrow. If you've ever been here when the middle school's changing classes, you know it's very difficult to walk. Again, about the art rooms with the kindergarten, first grade, we already talked about that. The stairs used for intervention offices and other programs without space impedes circulation egress. We have cleaned that up. So I've got some pictures to show you because that was a big fire code violation. So we have taken care of that. And again, same thing, corridors, music rooms, I mentioned that, and the media center. So I've already mentioned a lot of those. So here are some pictures so you can get an idea. This is the health office. She only has room for 1 bed. This is pretty much the whole office. She's got a little bathroom here, and that's pretty much it. So it should have enough room for 2 beds. Art and music. That's a terrible picture. I apologize. I was kind of trying to hold my grandson take a picture at the same time. It doesn't work very well. But this is music and this is art. So again, they're not supposed to be on the 2nd floor for kindergarten and 1st grade. Classroom space, again, we have 2 modulars. It's a picture of the modulars. This is the inside of the modulars. And the big thing about the modulars, the recommended life is 25 years. It doesn't mean they're gonna last 25 years, but that's the recommended life. We are on year 24 with having the modulars. And they cost about $32,000 a year for both of them to rent them. So that's been kind of a goal for a long time, to try to get all the kids back into the school and not have the modulars. So as I mentioned, right now we we don't have, we have the third grade. We brought the second grade in, and we have a math intervention, so. Okay, wellness is on a cart. You have a classroom. This is his office, which is a little tiny area right by the stairwell. That's his office. He has made a great job of what it looks like, but that's his office.
Just a place for him to put his stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Just the light, see how big that looks? That's that tech area back there. So the picture just doesn't do it justice. It makes it look nice and big. But I tried to show here looking in, it's there. But the big problem, a lot of it is sound. You have two classes going on at a time. It's really difficult. And we've really lost the ability of the library to be a place where people can just come and work quietly. Our school was designed and built before the whole technology growth. This is the room where our tech coordinators, this is their, what do you call it?
It's the infrastructure. It's
the
brain
and
of the school.
It's this little tiny narrow thing that you walk in, and there's two people in there. So that's been a problem with the technology and thinking about the infrastructure and how we would move things around for that. Support space. This doesn't quite show it, but there's one classroom. I'm not sure. Help me out, Kristen. I think it's that one that has 4 specialists. I think it's that one.
Yeah, I think it's that one.
They have 4 specialists in one classroom.
Yeah.
And so they have kids coming in and they're trying to work with small groups. It could be 4 at a time they're working at them. And you might say, well, can we move the specialists out into the modulars? This is the only classroom space that's taken up by specialists. So we would only gain 1 classroom. Like we could bring 1 more classroom in and put them out there, but we would only gain the 1 classroom. But they're typically small spaces. They have 2 to 3 people in these offices working with kids. And they're like inside the building. On the inner part of the building, so there's no windows. They were kind of originally, they were supposed to be closet space, and they turned into space for our specialists. Okay, anything else I missed? Anybody about this? I know, Lisa, you had said at one meeting that it's just really difficult to get quality one-on-one time with students when you're in this kind of a situation.
So a lot happening in those spaces at once, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. No staff room. This is somebody who had to come, and I got permission to use her slide. So she was my intern way back when. But she had to do work, and so this is in the office. She's in the office in the little thing. You can imagine there's a lot going on in the office. It's kind of hard to get work done. There's nowhere to go.
You can tell it's an old picture because the fire alarm.
Yeah, right. And she's wearing her mask. I asked her permission, and she said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Well, you got your mask on." She's like, "Great." Yeah, so it's an old picture. Okay, storage problems. We have added a shed. When was this added? I don't know the year for that. It was after I left.
3 years ago?
19.
20, early 9, yes, it was built over the summer of 2019.
Okay, 2019. And this is a picture of it has 2 levels. This is a picture of the bottom, I believe. Full of stuff. They ended up having to move a bunch of the gym stuff out into this building because they got a machine that puts the mats down for the gym. It saves lots of time and effort. But because of that, they lost some storage space in the gym. They have a lot of stuff there.
And the chairs. We had to get the chairs.
Right, because they were in the stairwell. Yeah. So those all got moved. You can see there's snowshoes here, all the equipment that they might use.
Seasonal equipment, yeah.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. They moved this is the books that they had. This is like a little tiny storage area that actually a long time ago I had as an office as a special ed case manager. I was in that room. So now all the books.
With the fire?
Yes.
To the roof? Oh, that's funny.
And she was sometimes a runner, so I had to keep an eye on her so they could go to the roof. And this is the stage. It's a little messier than it normally is because they have all the stuff out at the beginning of the year for teachers to come and take what they want to take, but it still has an awful lot of stuff, and you got to really move things if you're going to use the stage space at all. The stairwells. So if you have a stairwell with a fire door, it needed to be cleaned out. So that's an example on the right-hand side. But if it has fire doors, it doesn't need to be cleaned out to the same degree.
It doesn't have fire doors.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. I said it backwards. So if they have fire doors, you have to clean it up. If it doesn't, you can leave it there. So we wanted to make sure this, because a lot of people, they come in here, they go up these stairs and there's all kinds of stuff here. We're allowed to have stuff there because there are no fire doors. It's the fire doors impede the access, because when you have a drill or when you lose power, those doors immediately shut.
And that's, we have 3 stairwells.
We have 3 stairwells.
With fire doors and just one
and
without.
just one without.
Yep.
Right. Yep. But that used to be an area where we stored an awful lot of stuff, so we had to clean all that, put that somewhere else. This was what was voted down by the community. Big, grandiose, gorgeous looking school. But yeah, it's a lot of money. And I wanted to just make a point of the improvements that we've made since all this happened, because a lot has been done in the school. There's a new roof on the school, a new septic system. The visitor area has been paved. The fire alarm system was updated. The gym floor was replaced. We came up with a new traffic flow for dropping kids off and picking them up. New roof vents and chimney on the roof, and we have a contract for solar installation on the roof. So these are all things that we've done in that time frame from when that report came out, when they came and looked at the school and the needs of the school. So we tried to, or I shouldn't say we, because I was involved in all of these, but the school board has really tried to tackle a lot of these projects and get these done. And so all of these things have been done in that time, which is actually important to know too, because if we're looking at something in the future, it's nice to know that these are taken care of. They've been paid for, so they're not additional things that have to be done. This is a possible smaller expansion that the architect showed us when I first started school board. It was one of my first meetings. So they got rid of the whole addition to that side. They put this here, and what it does is it puts art and music, library, everything's on the first floor. So kindergarten, first grade can have it. And then on the second floor, there's additional classrooms. So.
Second floor of that.
Of this, yeah, of this.
So there'll be a
Of the-
2-story.
Yeah, this is a 2-story addition, yes. Yep. So it would give a lot of extra classrooms as well as moving, because also if you move at one art, one music, and all that downstairs library, that would open this up for more classrooms up here too as well. Okay, so this is where if you guys have thoughts, suggestions, things that you'd like to, this is kind of like the talk time. And I've got Nancy here. She's going to type things down so that
I'm gonna try.
to make sure she's going to try. She'll do great, I'm sure.
Computers and I aren't good friends, but I'll try.
We're looking for help. We're looking for help. We feel like there is an issue about space. We're looking at things about if we make our classes bigger, but it doesn't meet a lot of the standards. It would be difficult to do. We could maybe do a little bit here or there, but it's difficult. And space, that's a problem. And then of course our services.
So I will just say, as a board, we will sort of have to decide what we want to do going forward. And I think we're looking for input.
Yeah.
Are we going to move forward with a small expansion? Are we going to keep things as is with the modulars? I think that's sort of we need to decide sooner than later. I mean, obviously, we're not going to put anything on the warrant article this March.
Just looking for a direction.
Yeah, but I think we need to sort of decide on a direction, because if we're going to be working on a potential new building process, that takes time, of course. So we would have to start that sooner than later and get that process going if we want that on, the March 2026 warrant. So I think we're looking for feedback and would love to hear what everyone thinks.
I've noticed one thing in Deerfield is people never forget what happened in the past. They forget things very slowly. And I think you even bringing up an expansion, you're years off before even saying that word.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
We don't disagree, but we're looking for help. Like, well, okay, so what can we do? Because this is not a good situation.
Because on one hand, people really hate the modulars, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, like anything we do is going to be adding cost, which I totally get.
That staff increase of 32 to 63 is shocking.
You got to remember that the school population was like, they did not have the special ed needs that we have now. That's completely changed. And I believe that, is it okay if like our percentage of IEP kids of the population?
Generalizing.
Yeah, Brian told me that it's around 21%. He's not sure about that number, but around 21%.
Is that including 504?
No.
That's just IEP? I think the national average is 15%.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, we have a really high percentage of IEPs in our school. And those are legally binding things that we have to do, we have to honor, and we want to. You know, it's for the best for the kids.
Have you looked at other schools in neighboring towns and compiled just a spreadsheet of positions we offer compared to positions they offer?
No.
So I've started looking into that. We seem to have a lot more than, like I was looking at Chichester, we dwarf what they have. That's
Chichester's a lot smaller population, isn't it?
well, I mean, it's
way
just, the population doesn't matter. It's not the number of, it's the number of different positions.
Yeah.
So the interventionists, the specialists, those are the ones that stick with.
I think you also have to look at, do they have preschool? Do they offer it? A lot of schools don't offer preschool. Like in the SAU, we're the only school that offers preschool.
I would say Chichester is part of the SAU preschool.
And they send them to the SAU.
To
So they
Allenstown.
don't do that. We save money by having our own preschool. But, so that's something you have to look at. Yes, it's more staff, but for what you would pay to send them to another place, we're saving money by doing it.
And I think, I mean, I hear you, it's a lot of staff, I think even if we cut the staff by 15, like, it doesn't totally solve the space needs entirely, you know, I mean, I'm obviously know this a lot, I was very involved in looking at it all, but things like the nurses station and having no staff rooms, like, and having no closets, because that's where you have the special ed kids. Like, even if we tried to reduce the staff or paras or whatever the other ideas are, but we cannot make any more space there. So I don't know. I
also think that, like I was trying to show with the classrooms, it's very difficult to reduce classroom teachers because of the size of the classrooms and the amount of kids that we have. You know, we would be out of compliance in a lot of that. So then what do you have left? Probably the biggest increase, if you look at that staffing change, go back to this one. This one, the biggest increase is down in here. So you've got your math, you've also got the special ed caseworkers, you know, they went from 2 to 7, which isn't really that much when you think about the increase and how the laws have changed. Back in the early days, they didn't even call them special education teachers. They were like resource room. Like when I first came here, they were resource room teachers. But that has changed. But then you got to look at your IEPs, because if you reduce it, can you meet the needs of your IEP? I mean, if you send kids out of district, it could cost $350,000. It could cost more. You know, I mean, that's really expensive. A lot of people forget that. If you pay for it in-house, it's cheaper than if you send them outside. If I'm saying anything incorrect, Kristen, please correct me, please.
I'd love to see what the 32 was, because we don't have.
What they had in the 32?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I wrote that down. I can get that.
Well, there's 24 classroom teachers, and there was one of.
They had no kindergarten, they had no preschool. I know they only had one art, one music, one PE. They only had one, I forgot the guidance counselors also went from 1 to 2. And they had one guidance counselor. They did not have the technology person. They didn't have a wellness. They didn't have language.
And some of those are like wellness. We have to have a wellness teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of these things are not discretionary on our part.
And they wouldn't have marked a library, because I don't think it was a certified staff, but they did have libraries, so that would increase it. But I was surprised that the speech and the OT really didn't change much from the beginning till now. It's like from 1 to 1.5 to 2. It really hasn't changed much.
Can I ask why we added 2 art and 2? I remember we had 2 PE.
Yeah,
in the late 90s.
I don't know that. Do you know the answer to that, Nancy?
Well, I think some of it was student population increase, and so that kids could have it more than once a week.
And they have it now year long, whereas before they had
Right,
it
sometimes
half
it was
a year.
half a year.
Yeah.
I do remember when we had it half a year.
I remember it was always on a specific day, which was really convenient, because you knew Monday was gym,
Right.
Tuesday was art, Wednesday was music, and then there was one, like,
Yeah.
now there's the rotation.
Now it's changed, yeah. They
Yeah.
don't do that anymore. Yeah, but I think they did change it because of the increase in
It was increase
population.
in in
And the other thing
population.
is Nancy's brought up several times, we don't offer anything else. Like a lot of other schools, like in a middle school, they might have, you know, I don't want to say home ec because it's probably not called that anymore,
Family
but
and consumer sciences.
what do they call, consumer
Family
science,
and
thank you.
consumer sciences. Wood shop, like
Yeah,
tech education. I mean, I know we say we have tech education, but we really have, you know, Mrs. Petroselli doing
Yeah.
printing and like
I would say-
talking theory about STEM. So
right.
Jack Hutchison teaching people how to make a sandbox.
which is awesome.
Which we
Well,
love.
the bridge, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Which we love.
He came and taught that, when I was here, they taught, I think it's first grade, how to make igloos.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. In the winter. But yeah, but we don't have a lot of extra stuff, so I think that was, we wanted to make sure the kids got some good music and good art and boy, they need PE.
So if there was one art, one music, and one PE, how often would the students have those?
I don't know. Greg.
Once.
What will it be? But would it be once a week for the whole year? Is that
I
what it would
don't
be?
even, I couldn't even begin to
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to
imagine.
redo the whole schedule. It might be like they only have it for half a year and then they have like maybe they have music for half
I
a
mean,
year.
I think
half a year,
that's
half-
definitely something to look into. I mean, and how does that compare to other schools? Are other schools having these things once a week? I mean, I know that's how I had it.
Yeah, I
So-
don't think you can go back to when you were in school. I know Epsom has, I know they have 2 art teachers in Epsom.
I think what, I'm not 100% positive about this, but PE has to be twice a week.
Oh, okay.
And,
But that's the other thing, the state changed the hours
Mhm.
that they have to have things. I've
Mhm.
kind of looked for that, but I've had trouble finding that.
Mhm.
That's the other thing, because there are requirements for how many hours you're supposed to have a certain subject. But did you write that down? Okay, good. That's certainly something we can look into.
Oh.
You know, we can take a glance at I mean, I can go into annual reports of other towns and figure out what they have.
So we have still 2 classrooms in the trails or 3?
3,
There's still 3?
yeah, the whole third grade. There's 3 third
I
grade
guess 2
classes.
more, I mean, I guess 2 more classes in the building and then you move the specialists out. There's your 3rd classroom, trails are empty.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in terms of what our priorities are, I don't know that we can come to the town and say, the kids are going to have their special classes cut off because we're focusing on space needs. I don't know that that's a sympathetic argument. And
So
as a
we're-
parent, I would not support that.
We're on a 4-day rotating schedule, so that might switch to a 5-day schedule, like a once a week instead of, you know what I mean?
I think that, I think,
Elementary and middle, like, you know.
I think that's generous. I don't know that it was every single week for the entire school year.
It was for me,
Well,
from 1993 to 2000.
sure.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
like, when that bubble, like, the gap.
Yeah,
years out.
I don't remember the years, but I do
Yeah, I
remember
didn't-
times
I didn't
when,
put when it changed, but somewhere between here it changed to 2. And I don't-
Yeah, it was after 2000,
Yeah.
it changed to 2. I just mean,
Yeah.
we went to all of the specials the full year,
Full year, but once a week.
once a week.
there was a period of time where, and I don't remember the years, but I do remember a period of time where my students would go like once a week to art for half the year.
It might have been.
And then
longer
this,
years,
yeah,
too.
I mean, so they didn't have art all year and they only had it once a week for,
And then you have to think about too, if you have one teacher and the scheduling of one teacher, that can be really difficult.
Or if you have 2 teachers in one classroom, share. Like, there's-
Could they be going to a classroom?
Well,
How many times
they
is
need
the
a,
classroom?
I mean, but it's still the same thing, scheduling.
And in the end,
It's one classroom
they're
and
upstairs. I mean, this is
Right.
kind of like, you've solved that problem, but it's still, there's other
Yeah.
things that.
I know middle school, when I was first here, we had to pick up some IAs and teaching to the kids. So we were like teaching things that we were interested in, like I did puppetry and, you know, different kinds of things. But that was because we had some scheduling issues. So I know the scheduling's a nightmare.
I personally would put an addition. I mean, I would like to see an addition on that side significantly smaller than even the cutback that they had. Okay. That would be a single floor with the ability to build on it, like when we originally built the cafeteria.
Yeah, okay.
Because the towns,
Sure.
we just don't have the money to do that. So a
Yeah.
single floor that would likely be probably 5 classrooms or so, enough that you could start doing some finagling.
Yeah, you
So
can
I'd
pull
like to
some of the
see-
specials down.
Put all the specials down,
Yeah.
and that gives this room to split in half and probably turn into like the 5th, 6th grade science, because
or like use the art room for science, I'm not, because I know that has like water in it.
Yeah, it seems to be
But
good.
something like that, but in order to sell that to the town, there's gonna need to be compromise somewhere else.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
there's gonna
Sure. Oh,
have to be some
absolutely.
sort of like staffing shuffle,
Yeah.
where like,
Yeah, understand that we're not
I
like
know.
trying to push anything, and I think that's a great
That's-
idea, so.
like, that's what I
Yeah.
really, I mean, just knowing that I have small kids. And I think the staff and everybody does a great job for fire for the small kids, but still just the idea of them being up here and a little chaotic. And just getting those specials and getting the elementary downstairs.
Yeah.
And then especially, you know, if one of those rooms is the large library, which I hope it would be, that gives this a lot. of use.
Yeah, well, it would make sense if you were to do that, to do a library, music room, an art room, and maybe a tech.
Yeah,
And then
like
you've
4 or 5, I think, I drew it out in my head, it was like 4 or 5 classrooms. Very simple, just very basic, so that there's just room for growth in the future, so if 20 years from there, they want to put second floor on. And the one thing I, that I don't have in here is the population projections, because it's kind of, we're waiting for Southern Planning is supposed to be doing some kind of population projection. We don't know, and the pandemic kind of messed everything up, because all those population projections, I think a lot of people are taking their kids and homeschooling them. I don't know that for sure. I'm just,
A lot of us decided not to have other children
Yeah.
during the pandemic.
yeah, so I think that's changed. So that will be something that'll be interesting when that comes out too, to see the population projections, because right now we really don't have anything to go by.
I'm still interested in looking at the possibility of doing something different with the shed building out there and having possibly the state fire marshal come in and tell us about the weight bearing
Right.
roof and all that other stuff, because I think there's still possibilities of maybe putting the preschool in over there.
Because that's been.
But then what are we doing with the stuff in the shed?
Yeah, that
Well,
brings up another problem, but yes.
Right, and
Right,
how
yeah.
much can be weeded out, we don't know. It all depends on what's really out there, what's in here that's being stored that maybe doesn't need to be, I don't know. Because I'm not in here, I don't know.
There's no plumbing.
Yeah, no, you'd have to, if you did that, you'd have to do something like that. A bathroom, but
Absolutely, there'd have to be some updates.
We've been told, I've been told by a lot of people that it can't be done. It's not built that way, and it would cost, it'd be better to just knock it down and check, but we think it's worth at least looking into it. So that's what we've been thinking about too. Just having someone out who is an expert who can say for sure, because we haven't had anybody for sure come out and say it. At least I don't think so.
I think the architects
I was
and
gonna
the
say.
engineering study did. Right?
Did they? I didn't see that in the report.
Oh, well, I think, because this shed was built in 2019, and they came in 2021 and looked at all of the
Okay,
available.
if you could find that, I would really
I
appreciate
sent
it.
it to you, it was on the USB drive. that I
Yeah,
sent.
yeah, but I didn't remember. Does it say it on that about the shed?
Yep.
Oh, okay, I'll look at it. I must have missed it.
Oh, no,
Okay.
it just says, but when they came, they assessed all of the,
Okay, but did they assess the shed with the idea of thinking, could it be a classroom?
I can't say for sure, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We're not really getting any real definitive answers.
I wasn't
so-
here when that happened, I'd like
Yeah.
to hear fresh information.
Just because it's a possibility. It's just a possibility that would reduce costs. And it may not work. That's okay. It's a possibility. That's what we're looking for, possibilities.
Is there any other way to get preschool out of the building? Anywhere to put them? So like, there's those 2 rooms in like the George B. Building.
Yeah, I don't-
That's not, I don't think that building would be up to current code for
Once-
education.
Once
Could
we,
we bring, I mean, I'm just,
Yeah, I hear what
like, we
you're
used to
saying.
have that other town, but I forget what it was called, when we first moved here, closed the year we showed up, of course. But there was what was it called? Yeah, we had that one. I
That
mean, is
wasn't-
there- is there
yeah, that
space in
wasn't through our
building?
school.
It's, have we looked? I mean, we can very quickly easily
Nancy,
say,
can
well,
you
we
just
can't put it there, but.
Type that in, something we can at least look into. I know it would be more difficult for the school, because the whole point of having it here is the specialists are here, they come here. It's like gets rid of that whole transportation thing, which is one of the reasons why we put the preschool here, but, I mean.
Or we
is
could
that-
have trap, you don't move the kids, you move the specialists.
Yeah, I know, but that
Yeah.
increases the cost, that's all I'm saying.
So, I mean, those are big ones. Yeah.
It's certainly worth looking into.
Well, it's really just
There's
one.
only
There's
one
only one.
preschool
Yeah,
class.
there's only one.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
one.
There's
They have
just
a
one
morning and an
preschool.
afternoon, right? And
Yep.
what is I forget what how many kids?
total between the 4 classes for two, three, four.
So you have like how many kids at a time?
In preschool.
Yeah.
A class would be about 10 to 12.
About 10 to 12. So you'd have to find a classroom that could fit 10 to 12 kids, and then they would come different times during the week, right? You said,
Right, so right now there are 4 classes, 2 morning classes and 2 afternoon.
Oh, okay.
classes.
So that preschool actually has 2 classes in it at one time? Okay, I'm
Sorry,
misunderstanding.
so our-
Oh, so it might be like Monday and Wednesday,
Wednesday,
Tuesday and
yeah.
Thursday. Okay, that's fine.
Three-year-olds come
Okay.
on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Got it.
There's a 3-year-old class in the morning.
Okay.
And a 3-year-old class in the afternoon. And then the 4-year-olds are here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, either in the morning or the afternoon.
Okay, I was just trying to get how much space would we need for one class at one time? Okay, so it'd be about 12 kids.
And do the preschoolers do IAs?
No,
They do library.
They do
Okay.
library,
oh, they do library.
thanks to that. He added them in. They do receive transportation. Sorry, Mr. Cross.
So just, and I missed the beginning part, you may have covered it and I didn't see the slide. But the data for student population over the past 5 years.
So,
That's from the beginning when the school was built to now, well, to 2023. I didn't do this year. Right, it's based on the annual reports.
So at least in the recent history, it looks like it's declining.
Yeah, but that's kind of a hard one to say because the decline is, 2020, the pandemic hit, went up, went down. It's kind of hard to, that's why we were saying it's hard to go with the projections.
So you're telling me that there's no state data that indicates the standards or the trajectory of student population in the schools?
It might be.
I think in some districts, they're definitely seeing a decline. I don't think there has been a significant decline.
And
here.
this line here, the green line, is the DOE recommendation for student population. So as you can see, we've been above it for quite a bit.
Recommendation for student population within
Square
a school or square
For
footage?
square foot, so you take the whole square footage of the school, you divide it by how many kids, and 90% of that's that line.
So then if you're putting together, potentially looking at a building program that's gonna cost millions, we don't know how many, but it's gonna be millions.
Yes.
Has anybody put any consideration into giving options for people to opt out of school and have funding follow the student to whether it's a private school or some other kind of public school system, so that the decrease in so that we can purposely decrease the population of the schools to fit it better?
No. That has not been pursued by any of the school boards that I've
So
been
then,
involved in.
I don't
so
know
then
whether
if you
you're-
take the total cost of an expansion program and you divide it by whatever your average tuition follow that you're gonna attribute to that particular student, that should be able to tell you, you should be able to do the calculations to roughly see how many students.
I think a complicating factor in that is that we probably are still responsible for their transportation.
And
We
if
are
they-
responsible for their special ed costs. So if we have to bus
Yeah.
them back here for special ed services,
For their IAs.
so it might sound cheaper on paper. I'm not positive that it would be.
So I would say that looking at that as an option, it could be that the option for you to use schools outside of this particular school would be that you would carry your own transportation responsibilities. That
I
could
don't
be
think we
part of
can
that.
legally say that.
If it's an option, you might be able to.
I'm not sure that.
Well,
I've-
I'm asking if you
Okay,
would
we'll-
wanna look into that.
we'll write it
because
down.
I
Yeah,
do think-
I think we have a legal obligation to provide busing for K-8 students in our district.
And
And
again,
if our money from our district is being paid to other districts, it would follow that that's still considered in our district.
and would it follow them if you allowed parents to use private outside education systems instead of public? And therefore have less limitations that would have to follow? And it would be
Yes.
purely optional.
So, right, so like if a student right now opts to go to charter school, for instance, but they need special ed services, we still pay for those.
And I understand that, that's why I'm bringing in the element of a private.
Doesn't matter if it's private or not.
um,
If a high school student wants to go to private school, they can opt out of the district.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to, I don't think they have to do special ed requirements there. I don't know.
No,
They would have, I think they would have to opt out of the district, which I think would mean that district money would not follow the student, if that makes sense.
I
Because the
know
money's
that
for
there's, and I'm not up to speed on all the legality part of it, so I don't pretend to be a professional. I'm just bringing a thought or an idea in how to spend less money and accomplish the same goal. Okay?
What I don't understand is you're saying you would take the money that would be for the addition, and then you're still spending the money, but you're distributing it differently. So I don't really understand why that would cost taxpayers less money.
Because you could do the calculations of how much money you'd be able to save, and you might proportion it as if we were to spend 30% of whatever your budget was gonna be to build an addition, instead of spending 100% of it, you might be able to find a way to save some money if you decrease your population by allowing on an optional base only in, for kids to be schooled somewhere else.
Would you plan for that?
I'm not here to come up with the whole plan.
No, I'm
It's just an idea,
Yeah.
okay? And I know that, that there are some other schools in the country that have chosen something similar to that, but I don't know the ins and outs. I couldn't give you specifics. I'm just bringing up an idea that might be something for consideration.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that there is a program at the state where, flexible spending accounts that parents can apply to get funding, low income. And they just increase, I think, that income threshold. Try to include more students. I mean, so there is a.
But there is
source
funding that's
for-
following kids outside
Correct.
into private education. Yes, I do know that. Okay.
So I think we have to think about how does that,
They couldn't
offset.
do both
Correct.
because you can only do it if you're opting out of your local school district.
Just to follow up, so Oklahoma does that. I know they send kids to different, like each, I guess their counties, like contract differently to send those kids so that like, I mean, I don't know if they have a crossing, or I don't know if they have the same, like, any of the same like legal obligation, but like, oh, you can like opt out of like your current county school and go to a different county. And even if it's like a neighboring county like Oklahoma, or like some schools in Missouri, like it's just weird and different. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think if that were to be like a widespread thing, then kids might opt to come here too. So then are we solving the problem if kids in Northwood who live closer to the Deerfield school want to send their kids here? You know?
We're not thinking it that way, if that was the thing I was.
Yeah. No, I think, there's a lot of ideas and I'm happy to look into some of these. I just think a lot of them may solve a problem, but create other problems that then also cost money.
I know it's not totally related to space, but I know a big part of the engineers study when they came was looking at the systems in the school, and I know we've done a lot of work since then, but one of the systems that was kind of at its end of life was the wiring, and then the lighting
And the
because-
HVAC.
and HVAC, yeah, right, which is why the students love the mobs because they're But so there was a lot of discussion in 2020 and 2021 about, looking at it holistically, right? Like it is easy to come in and do one thing, like, I don't know, convert the shed or build a yurt or whatever it is, but if we're trying to look ahead as well, I feel like we're doing the architects and the engineers and all the people that came before us, like the building committee, a disservice for not looking at those pieces as well.
No, you make a good point, because there's still things that we need to address.
Which, like, I don't think anybody wants to be paying a ton more money for expansions, but at the end of the day, the kids are still in here, so we have to try to look at it holistically. Okay, do we still have money left, for the architects? Because there was a balance at the end, like.
So the current estimate is that we have enough money to draft another set of plans if we wanted to pursue that.
So what is that dollar amount?
I do not know.
I have to refresh.
Wait, let me check my spelling. Yes.
I don't see the mouse. There it is.
Maybe I don't. These are bullets, right? And it's a
Yeah,
bullet, you don't
it's
have to
fine.
worry about punctuation, right?
Okay, we just wanted you to know that this was the end of the presentation, and Nancy's been writing things down, so we've been trying to write down things that you guys have
See
seen.
if I got your ideas down
So-
correctly. If I need to add more words, let me know.
I think what Jackie said, we can add something about the fact that we need all the other work done.
Still
within the
needs
school.
building improvements.
Yeah, building improvements. We've done a lot, but there's still more that needs to be done.
Say that again.
Building,
We
have
still
building
need
improvements.
main building improvements.
Just to
Just that it's
take
all
that into
connected,
consideration.
right? It's like you, it's hard to open up the wall and do the plumbing and not look at the wires. I'm not
Right.
a construction person, but you know what I'm saying? It's looking at it holistically while we're opening walls and reconsidering things just makes sense.
Okay, so is there anything that we missed? Can you guys look at it? We were trying to write down what you had so that we can use this to kind of direct us. And thank you, Nancy, for doing that. She was very worried about, spelling, and I said, just chunk the information. It's okay. I'm not gonna grade you on your.
I grade myself.
Say we don't have the
don't-
power to issue grades.
Once a teacher, always a teacher. You know, let it go.
Are we good? Is there anything else that anybody has? Other ideas? I have to say, we really appreciate you coming, and being a part of the conversation. Wish more people had come, but I'm glad you guys came. And we're gonna put this, we'll be putting this on
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
On the
On our
thing.
Facebook page or on our website.
Yeah, I'd say there is on the website a big area with space needs and all the architect designs and like a bunch of other plans and stuff. So we can put it with all the other presentations and stuff that have been done.
And I think some of the purpose of tonight, we know the town is not going to jump for joy if we bring something,
I
but
mean, we're feeling it too.
right,
ourselves.
absolutely.
We know.
But
Yeah.
we also don't want people to think we've just forgotten about it either, because the modulars keep coming up and other things keep coming up. So I think that was the reason of wanting to do this, is so that people don't think, well, they've just forgotten about it. And, it is still in thought.
And we did increase the size of the classrooms. I mean, we did do that. And we do have an extra classroom that we are using, and we have done some things. We want people to know that we're listening. We're trying to do it, but this is when you look at the whole big picture, these are problems.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show, like you said, none of us want to add something else that we have to pay for, but there was a reason why we needed to bring in the engineers and needed to bring in architects to try to solve the problem, because if it were just as easy as shifting to somewhere else or another building, I've been a part of those conversations. It has come up so many times, and it's great that we keep talking about them, but there was a reason why we brought in the professionals. I just can't discount that. Looking ahead.
What would be the logistics of repurposing the cafeteria as a classroom and going back to using the gym as the lunchroom?
Remember this conversation, Kim?
They have classes during.
Besides super inconvenient, which I understand.
Well, they do have classes during lunch periods.
Yeah, and you have to
So
put
it's
the
being
mats
used.
down and put them back up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a logistics nightmare. I think they did at one point do that years ago. I mean,
Years ago, when we first
think-
moved in here,
Better than that would be maybe having lunch in the classrooms. I think we want to get to that, but I mean, that's a possibility where the kids go back to their classrooms and have lunch in the classrooms.
well, there's contractual,
Yeah, you'd have to
Issues
deal
with that.
with the, people, like who
And
would
then-
watch the kids.
and
that
then
kind
where
of
do
thing as well.
teachers have their, because that's where they have their lunch,
Right.
it's just, and that we did do that during the pandemic. There was a lot of things we had to do, but it really wears you down.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And you have to, you can't just put kids in a classroom and not have somebody to supervise. It
you have-
almost doubles the
You
supervision
have to
if you
deal
do
with
it
the
that way.
supervision, for sure. Yeah, because you, instead of having, 2 or 3 people in the
Mhm.
cafeteria, you'd have to have each
Yeah, you
classroom.
want every other classroom to, never mind kindergarten, I think you have to be in the classroom.
I was gonna say.
I mean, that could essentially go back to like my idea of adding a small addition, the cafeteria would be a library, and then like we've gotta, like I said, there's gotta be a give and get, and I realize that the only perfect solution is to come up with millions and millions of dollars and do all the things we want to do, like, but it's just not ever going to happen. So like, where can we make? I mean, it's gonna be inconvenient, but like, could we then do that? Could we go back to adjusting like? The PE schedules be adjusted for that to be like lunchroom, because then it's bigger. You could put more students in there. The lunch period would be a shorter hour instead of having to pan it out from 11 to 12:30 right now. Like it's
Lunch right now is 20 minutes or something.
but there's like 3 shifts on. Yeah, like
It's
So,
it's a time period of, what is it, like an hour and a half? The whole, from when they start lunch to when they finish, it's about an hour and a half.
We started on 11-ish, 11, and we end by 1:30 where our kids are out of the camp. Well, I mean, in terms of serving lunch, but.
Yeah, so that's like an hour and a half. That you have to.
2
and a half.
2, oh, 2.5. Sorry.
it's like 3 or 4 cycles of kids where I remember when we did the lunchroom, there was 2 periods because you can fit so many more tables in there. Then instead of having just 3 grades come down each time, like you now can have 4 and 4. So that lunch hour goes from.
Well, you're talking the whole gym. You're talking the whole
No,
gym.
there's half.
We used to
That
have
doesn't
1
seem-
through 3, 4 through 6, and 7 and 8. I think something on that. There were 3.
3 bubbles.
Yeah.
And I remember there was still a gym class going on the other
On the other
side,
side.
which wasn't a big deal.
But,
I actually
well-
always liked going from gym over at lunchtime because I worked up and down the day, but.
And I know there has to be give and take, and it maybe wasn't a big deal for the kids. It was a big deal for the teacher.
Yep, setting it up. I'm sure,
Who,
but-
well, not just the setting up, dealing with the lunchroom noise versus trying to teach.
Oh, and the PE.
Yeah. I mean,
And what would it solve in the end?
the slider doesn't, it's a curtain. Yeah, no, I just remember conversations with the PE teachers who did it, I mean, because that's what they did, but, you know, you've got.
Are we looking to go backwards like that? That's also a question to consider, that feels to me like we're going backwards. We have the space now to use the way we want to use it, and in the end, if we had to go backwards, we would do it, but why? I don't know what that solves in the end.
It's just an opportunity to look at where you can say, it's gonna be real inconvenient over here if we do it this way, but if we can add these 3 and now we can accommodate, there's just gotta be some way to volley because and I don't wanna see the students stuck like this either, or the staff.
I haven't looked this year, I mean, I know nothing is gonna happen this year, probably in the next few years, because we all have a lot going on. But, the state was providing aid for these projects, they're not this year.
I don't know
Right.
what it is, but we weren't.
You have to have a plan.
Yeah, you have to have
You're
a
not-
plan.
You're not able to do it right now.
And I think
So I
also-
work for school districts and I'm a facilities director for it. My elementary school is very close to the entire size of the school, size-wise and population-wise. I know the exact troubles you're going through. We probably have about 40 or 50 more kids in about the exact same square footage. Great points have been brought up. I think we really need to reevaluate the spaces that are being used. I think an addition is imminent. It has to happen. It just depends on how big. We know I come from another town that denies everything. Like the school district has denied 13 straight years in addition. We now have to go alternative routes to make something happen. With that being said, you do something is better than nothing. You need to move forward. So what is that step going to be? I get reevaluating. You can't. It's only going to get worse. I've seen it. I've been in the municipality for years. And it's tough. It's a tough battle right
I also think as far as state money, doesn't it go according to your
Need.
your need?
So you have to have the plan, again, what they already have right now is in, like my district is in, we're locked in just for a couple of years. You had to have a plan built, you had to have all the paperwork in, and then you're graded. So the state would come down and grade everything from your kids, the facility, needs, you name it. Age,
So
building,
economic-wise, we
everything.
can only get up to 30%.
Economic is always
So
a problem,
correct, and then
Yeah.
you're on a list, and then there's only X amount of money, so I
Yeah.
believe right now Concord is on the list, I think, but they dropped out, that they were up there, if they had won, they would have eaten up almost every ounce of the aid. My district is like number 6. If they drop out, like, we almost had a chance, but that problem is you have to have this in before the vote too.
Right.
So even if it passes, you don't know until after it passes if you're getting aid, so there's that risk of.
Yeah, you have to
Not that you're
plan,
lying, but you may pass it through town and not get aid.
right, you have to plan as though you're not getting aid.
Correct.
If you get aid, excellent bonus, amazing.
And it's up to 30. We only make
Right.
it 10% depending on what grade we're
Or who we're up against.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes. Who happens to be doing plans the same year.
correct.
Yeah.
Maybe have check more of the points for safety or other things that come
And I
first.
think I was involved a little bit during that last round of building renovations, and there's a lot going against us here. A lot of safety, obviously affordables. You have a lot going on. A lot of family HVAC.
Yeah.
It doesn't help either because the state does take into consideration too how well you've been keeping up with it. Again, it's kind of out of your realm, it's out of your hands a bit, but if you're not keeping up with it, you're doing very poor upgrades or poor attempts at keeping up with it, they know. That you don't want your building to crumble because they're like, either you're just trying to get aid or
Oh,
so you need to actually like put money into your building yearly, and I don't know
We've been
the
doing that.
the finances on what the facilities department here is, but I know I'm very fortunate. I have a very large budget with my 2 schools. And I try to do as much as I can yearly. I mean, I have a pretty intense capital improvement plan on my own that I have to follow.
that's helpful. Anything else? Okay, so we will see if there's any public comments about, I guess you could still talk about space needs if you want, but if you want to talk about anything else, 'tis the time.
Okay, yep, sorry.
You have a current cost per student at DCS?
No. I mean,
We can
that's
figure it
generally
out.
calculated by the DOE, I think. But I don't think they have recent numbers that I've seen at least.
How do you calculate that? It's a different way, special ed. Is it accurate?
Yeah,
just do
it's
an
like the DOE takes all the money that you spend related to the school divided by the pupils, I believe.
So you take your budget and divide it by your pupils, and that come up with your average cost.
Probably close. I don't
Do
know.
they use like any of the money that the DOE gives? Like, does that go into it? I don't know.
Yeah, they probably take out revenue, or they probably, like, revenue probably factors in.
Do you want some help with that, Kendra?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Oh,
Patty, I
Patty's on.
forgot you're,
We
yes,
forgot.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I just
Patty was there.
So cost per pupil, there's a pretty big formula and they'll take out like the cost of transportation. They take out all of the special ed costs. So you can't just divide it by the number of students in your school. And the numbers are always a year behind, but we have the comparison sheet that was put out toward the end of last year. And I have that handout. So if you make a note for me, I'll get it for you. I can't remember if we were below or above state average. I think we were below, but we have that number for you.
Great, so we can have it at the next meeting.
Sure.
Kathy, you got that? A note for Patty?
Okay, any other public comments? Okay. I will then make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks
for
very much
coming.
for coming, everybody.
I didn't save anything. I don't know if it
It should
automatically
automatically
saves.
save. It should automatically save. So
It won't be on the board copy. This is just on
Yeah.
like my copy, because when
Yep.
they put it on the board, I'm not the owner anymore, so I
Okay.
can't change it. Yeah.